Good evening, ladies and
Who are you
gentlemen,
people?
and welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race number 13, playoff race number 5, the final race of the round of 8, preparing for the final 4. One driver is already confirmed. 7 hopefuls, well actually 6 hopefuls, going to fight for the final 3 positions here tonight. They could win their way in, or they could point their way in to the championship battle next week, starting at Talladega. I'm Seth Cole. He's Michael Norman. Michael.
Outside pole sitter my butt.
Yeah. The random qualifying draw put me on the outside of the front row, folks. It relegated him to what, 9th, 10th, something like that?
Where am I? I think I was 11th.
11th. Yeah, outside the top 10. That's where you belong. But nonetheless, big stakes here tonight because we're going to bring up the point standings here. We already know Tim Nofsker's locked in with his victory last week. Brian Schilling looks like he's in somewhat good shape, if you can call 12 points above the cut line good shape. We've got, I believe, 32 drivers in the field here tonight.
33, excuse me. I think there's a 998 car that's on the racetrack right now.
Well, he shouldn't be on the racetrack. Get that car out. There he is. Goodbye.
I mean, theoretically, I could be. I mean, I could run the race and commentate at the same time.
Yeah, we had Matt Rod do that in an event, and it didn't turn out all so well. But still, as I was going to talk about the points, Michael, come on, let's get with the program here. Chuck McClure,
what points?
He is technically, right now, for all rights and purposes, 3rd in the stands. I know it shows him 4th, but we'll explain why he is technically 3rd right now in just a minute.
But Seth, everything's made up and the points don't matter.
This isn't Whose Line, though. It doesn't say Rolling Thunder Gaming Whose Line is it Anyway Challenge Series. Though that would be interesting.
No, but that gives me an idea.
Oh, no. Anyway, going back to what we're talking about, Chuck McClure, he is currently 1 point ahead of the cut line, and Brian Rawson is theoretically the cut line driver coming into tonight. Huh?
What's with all these theories?
There's not a theory, because I'm going to explain why it is what it is in just a minute here, if you would let me finish my soliloquy here.
Listen, what? That was a big word.
That was a big word. Did I hurt your brain? Good. Maybe it'll stop you talking for a couple of seconds. Grant Wesley is behind the cut line. First driver behind the cut line, 8 points out. Same for Jeremy Jeffries, the defending champion. He is also 8 points out. Jessica Shelton, 9 points out. They could point their way into the Final Four, or they could win their way in tonight. Some of the drivers may have a must-win mentality here for this evening. So why, to answer Michael's question, all the theoreticals here, it's because we heard last week Josh Metallic was not going to be here tonight. He did not win last week to advance into the Final Four. He is currently 3rd in overall points, but because he will not race tonight, we know he's going to lose enough points that he will fall out of the top 4, will not advance into the final round via point standings, which is why we're basically shifting him to the bottom of the order and moving everyone Chuck McClure on down up a position, so that would move McClure to P3, Rawson to P4, the cut line driver, and then Wesley, Jeffries, and Shelton on the outside looking in. Did that make sense to you, Michael?
Kinda, but so you said they're what? The most out is what, 8 points?
Right now, 9 points.
9 points is the most.
It's
and
that close.
That's that close.
9 points. Only 21 points separate the entire 8 drivers.
That's literally a whole race with the amount of cars. How many cars are with us?
32.
32.
So there's a lot of points on the table. Nobody's safe except Tim Nofsker.
Well, I'm telling you, Seth, if this is going to be a very interesting race, and I'm going to keep my eye on it. But
no, should I tempt fate right now? Should I tempt fate and say it?
Tempt fate and no. Actually, if it's what I think it's about, no, don't do it.
2 weeks ago, this racetrack, we were caution-free the entire race. Mark Paglia, Ulysses Sandoval, gonna bring us down here to the green flag to end off the round of 8. Who's advancing with Tim Nofsker into the Final Four? Flagman has the green flag in hand, and we're underway at Burt Screwdrivers Raceway. Oh, and we're already wrecking.
See? You see what you had to do?
I absolutely jinxed it. I absolutely commentator cursed it. We didn't even get 10 feet. Whoever says the commentator curse does not exist, I give you Exhibit A. Wiley Coat involved in that one. It was Greg Lovell.
You just had to say it. Oh, we
I
already have one
oh
retired.
boy.
We already have one retiree. That is the 99.
Doug Woolley. It was nice to see him back in the field, but
Not very long.
not for very long, unfortunately. Wiley Coat had
Seth
rear
had
end
to go and
damage.
say something.
The car that was out of shape first was the 880 of Greg Lovell.
Hey, Matt, real quick, because I'm saying, because Matt's watching, he just commentated saying Seth's the best commentator. I beg to differ.
I'm the best commentator because I can enact the commentator's curse better than anybody.
Hey, I'm timing him out.
Wow! There goes the comment.
No proof. There's nothing.
Scoop! There it goes.
Oops, there it goes.
Now, caution out for the first time here tonight. I don't think any of our championship drivers were involved in that. The furthest driver in the field that was a playoff contender, I think, was Tim Nofsker back in the 25th position. Everybody else was in the top 19.
Oh, okay. What? Okay.
Did somebody give a bad bump? Did somebody miss a shift? Because the 880 I saw shoot out of line, but
Greg Lovell, that's what I'm trying to figure out here.
From the angle we were
he just
at.
spin his tires or something? Let's see.
By the way, how's it feel to be able to see all the cars on the track?
It does. Oh, there was a stack up.
Wow, that was an answer. Hold on. I want to engrave that one. How does it feel to see all the cars on the track? It does.
So there was a stack up on the start. The 880 swerved up high to avoid the running into the back of the 31, and I think might have hitboxed him, and in doing so caused him to lose control, bounce off the wall, and then back in front of everybody.
Yep, I think you're exactly right. Wiley Coat, nowhere to go. Keith Bynum.
Wiley Coyote over there.
Doug Woolley. John Godfrey went up on his side. Graham McDonald, Glenn Harris were all involved in that also.
I didn't look like the 99 got that big of a hit,
it really
to be
didn't
honest,
to me
so I'm
either.
surprised he retired from that.
If anything, the biggest hit looked like it would have been the 711. Here's another look. We'll focus on the 63 of Keith Bynum. Everybody in that outside line kind of getting swept up. Joe DeSpirito. Ooh, okay. He kind of broadsided the driver's side into the Armco barrier. He should be okay.
He's still messing with Matt in the chat. I'm censoring Matt in our chat. He has no free speech.
All right, remind me after this race is over to remove your moderator powers.
Oh, calm down. It's
we'll
not
focus
that
on
bad.
the 99 of
Honestly,
Doug Woolley here.
The 5 cars hit to the inside wall could be classified as the biggest hit of this wreck, to be completely honest.
In terms of visible damage, I think he's the only one that has it. To your point, that it's kind of like the V indent on the back bumper. And yeah, it did not look like that the 99 of Doug Woolley really got any terminal damage. So, not necessarily certain why he retired out of the race, but he'll get credited for 32nd place.
You know what else is 32nd place? Your face.
Actually, I would be 33rd. You would be 34th because I out-qualified you.
That's not the point.
It is exactly the point. Well, you tell Matt to stop tempting fate, and I tempted fate first, so.
Well, I can't exactly time you out from the chat.
No, you can't, because I'm not typing.
Exactly.
So our first caution of the evening. All right, you want me to tempt fate again?
No. Actually, yes, but do it in a different way.
Okay.
I want you to tell me.
I tempted fate that 2 weeks ago at this racetrack, we ended up having it go caution-free. Last week at Talladega, we had a caution come out in the first 3 laps, and it turned into a fuel strategy race because they went green flag from that point on, and only 2 drivers actually made it across the start. Actually, correction, no, 3 drivers made it across the start-finish line under power. Everybody else had to come to pit road in the final 2 or 3 laps.
Yep.
So did I tempt fate for a second caution to immediately come out now?
No, I wanted you to tempt fate and telling me who do you think's gonna make it into the final 4.
Oh gosh. Okay, so we know Nofsker's in. I feel Brian Schilling. is a lock. I know he's only 12 points above the cut line, but he has been the epitome of consistency here in the playoffs. He has finished, I think, in the podium in at least or at least two of the three playoff races we've completed so far, including a runner-up last week. I think you got to put Schilling in there. Chuck McClure's got some good momentum. He actually won 2 weeks ago at this racetrack in that caution-free race, so I think he's in. So it comes down between Brian Rawson, Grant Wesley, Jeremy Jeffries, and Jessica Shelton. Now, Jeremy just barely got into this round of 8 based off of a post-race penalty in the last race of the round of 12 that Bob Seminara got. So Jeremy barely got in. He's currently below the cut line now. Didn't have the best of run last week. So unfortunately, if I'm putting together a Final Four, I'm leaving out the defending champion. Grant Wesley, this has been an unusual season for him. He has not gotten to victory lane yet. I can't believe we're saying that. The 3-time champion has not got a 1 or higher number in the win column at this point in time. He's had a couple of races where he's led the most laps, but I kind of feel like the momentum isn't there for him. Jessica Shelton now, I think you could make a case. Now, last week we ended up finding out she was running top 10, led a number of laps last week, but got hit with a late race speeding penalty and ended up finishing off the lead lap. I think she was in line for somewhere around 8th or 9th and finishing 19th. So I think you can make a case for her. The problem is, usually in these type of races, I don't know how it happens, doesn't matter how big the field size is, the playoff drivers always seem to run around each other. So there's not much opportunity if you're in a points deficit to be able to gain a huge chunk of ground. So for that reason and that reason only, I'm putting the 4th driver into the playoffs, the 6 of Brian Rawson. He has played a strategy all season long where he leaves the server before the qualifying grid is set. It starts him at the rear of the field. He's been able to go to victory lane in back-to-back races with that strategy. He finds himself up in the top 10 by the time we get to around the midway point of the race. Last week, not the greatest run, but it was enough to keep him in contention with drivers like McClure and Metallic, who also had decent runs last week. I'm going to go with my Final Four. Moving on, it's going to be Brian Schilling, Chuck McClure, Brian Rawson, and then, of course, Tim Nofsker already locked in.
Wow. I'm going to tell her that you didn't even pick her. Rude.
Look, you put me on the spot. I gotta go with the stats, I gotta go with momentum, and I gotta go with the trends that we've seen here. I mean, we've covered multiple seasons in this series, and it always is. Here's a case in point, Michael. Going back to Jess, one of the seasons that she was in the Final Four for the championship, I think it was her, Joe DeSpirito, Grant Wesley, and I'm trying to remember who the other driver was. It might have been Bob Seminara. They were in the final race. This was back when it was a one-and-done final round. They finished 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th in a field of over 30 cars. So that just shows you that it always seems like the playoff drivers always seem to run around and finish around each other. So to that end, like I said, I think that Grant, Jeremy, and Jess having the hard luck they did last week. Yes, I know it's only 8 and 9 points. Doesn't seem like much. But it's hard to gain 9 and 10 points in the competition when they're running only 2 positions either ahead or behind you, whichever the case may be.
So when she wins, it gets into the Final Four, then what are you going to do?
Then I am never going to set a bracket again. This is why I don't do March Madness, because I don't know nothing when it comes to brackets.
I didn't know anything about football, but when I did a random football pool with everybody, but the God, what do they call it? The fantasy football or whatever. I know it was NASCAR. I lied. NASCAR. I didn't know nothing about fantasy NASCAR, and I still somehow won it.
Yeah, but using the Magic 8 Ball is cheating. Or asking the tarot cards, one or the other. Green flag back in the air.
Is it though?
I was able to give an explanation during an entire caution period, so at least I know what the length of it is.
I was wondering when you were going to take a breath.
Gotta come up for air sometime, right?
Yeah, for real.
Mark Paglia gets the green flag to put us back underway. Denny Carroll will slot into second. Ulysses Sandoval up there on that outside line.
Did not get going.
Nope, but again, we've talked about the fact that this particular racetrack, Burt Screwdriver's Raceway, inside line is usually preferred. There is a middle line that can get momentum, but once that third lane forms up, middle line completely evaporates. So usually everybody tends to fight for the bottom of the racetrack.
Matt, nobody cares about Pontiacs. I'm just saying. So never count out the power of Jess or the Pontiac. Well, screw your Pontiac.
I will count out the power of Pontiac.
I will count out the power of Pontiac too. Speaking of third lane, you see it up there. Brian, and look at this, Jess gonna push Ulysses with the 22 right behind her.
That would be Greg Palmer. That's interesting, because if anybody tuned into our coverage last Saturday night, the exchange between Jess and Greg in the FRN booth during our coverage of the first Talladega Nights Mega Team Race event, yeah, I didn't expect to see these two nose-to-tail working together here tonight.
Ooh, a little hostile.
Oh no, friendly banter. Just gonna jump into that third line, pick up Kelly Causey in the 00. Kelly was one of the 3 cars I mentioned that last week at Talladega finished the race under power, finished 5th, was running 3rd, ran out of fuel coming out of turn 4, and was able to coast it across the start-finish line for a top 5 finish.
Yeah, and you see how Ulysses went up there. Did that hurt that momentum? Was it a late move up there? Because now it just seems like they're not really going.
They're kind of stalled out there side by side with that middle line, right? This is what we see typical of this racetrack. If both lanes lose momentum, that just gives the advantage to the inside, and Keith Bynum gets loose, gets into Brian Lovell, and Lovell's going to go around. He's going to collect up Ron Hagelin. That's not Ron Hagelin. Who is that?
That
was Greg Lovell.
Brian Lovell, Grant Wesley.
Wesley in that. That's one of our playoff drivers. And Jeff Crivello in the 36. That wreck took a long time to generate. Caution's out. Field is frozen. They'll make their way back to the start-finish line, but nobody will advance their position. Trying to eagle-eye the Gatorade machine of Grant Wesley. See if there's any visible damage.
You said Jeff Crivello, right?
Crivello, yep.
Jeff Crivello DeVille?
You know, you're not the first one to make that pun.
Really?
Nope.
Who else made that pun?
Me. Crivello looks like he's got roof damage. I don't know if I'm seeing this correctly. It could just be kind of the rounded top that these Aero 88 cars have, but it looks like around that left rear C-pillar. Like there might be an indentation on the roof of the Quaker State machine. We'll go back, take a look. This started with the 63 of Keith Bynum. I don't know if he got a bad bump, but he was very loose out of the tri-oval. Was trying to gather it up. Makes contact with Brian Lovell, hits the wall, and then after that, I'm not exactly certain what happens, but several drivers were for sure swept up. Here's a look at it. Let's see if there's maybe a bump through the tri-oval here. Yes, they stacked up Graham McDonald, Keith Bynum, Brian Lovell. And then right there, Brian gets sent down into Greg. Grant gets into the right rear of Jeff Crivello. Hard to tell. It was too fast to kind of tell right there if the 36 came up or if the 88 came down. Might have been a little bit of both. But Grant, at least from that camera angle, went nose first into the outside wall. So that could be, I don't know, that could be a problem for one of the drivers trying to point his way or win his way into the Final Four. Here's a look at it. Watch the hit by Grant. Kind of crowds Jeff down. Jeff comes back up, gets Grant. Maybe Grant might be okay. The 36 and the 63 kind of ricocheted him away from the wall. Again, I feel like I continually say this, but it's true. It's hard to really tell just how much damage a car sustains with these Aero 88 machines until they get up to speed. Sometimes we get that visible damage, but not all the time. Here's an interesting strategy. Brian Rawson going to stay out and lead a lap. Remember, that is a bonus point, so we're going to have to make note of that when we calculate up the points here and try and figure out who's going to be in the Final Four and who is not. That one point technically counts as an extra finishing position in the final results. So Strategy here out of the driver that started last and will more than likely start at the rear of the field here. Will probably come to pit road under this caution period and start back behind the rest of his playoff competitors. Chuck McClure won the battle off of pit road, by the way. So if everybody ahead of him comes to pit lane during this caution period, Chuck, who's in 7th place, would inherit the race lead for the first time this evening.
Well, Seth, I think this would be a good time for our first commercial break of the evening.
You don't want me to explain something else?
No, I don't want you passing out in the booth of not being able to freaking not being able to breathe because I can't do this by myself.
Okay, well, we'll keep it here. Keep an eye on what the strategy's like under our second caution of the evening here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Ryan Rawson, your current leader here tonight.
Stop hogging all the gosh darn fries, Seth. God.
But I like fries. Welcome back, everybody, here to our coverage at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, playoff
Darn,
race number
I,
4.
I should have brought us back from commercial acting like we were just talking about something personal.
Like fries.
Who's Line. Yeah, like fries. Like they do in Who's Line. Remember,
You
the
saw
points
there.
don't matter.
That's true, but the fries do. You saw there during our caution period, Brian Rawson come to pit road. Chuck McClure actually came back down pit road. Seminaire got a lap led and pitted. So it turns the lead back over to Mark Paglia, who's led 8 laps so far here tonight after starting from the pole position. Denny Carrollby to his outside, then Donnie Garrett, Bobby Farrell, and Bob Dixon. That's your top 5 here as lap 13 complete, lap 14 on the board.
Couple drivers with black flags, including the 9 and the 96, I believe.
Almost wondering if the 17 might have gotten a black flag as well, and that's why he came back down pit road, because he was slated to cycle out to the lead. Denny Carroll on that outside line there in the 41. Keep an eye on the battle here tonight for the finals of the loser's side of the bracket challenge. Denny Carroll taking on Bob Seminara. Winner will go on next week to face off against the winner of the winner's side of the bracket, Joe DeSpirito. If DeSpirito loses the bracket battle next week, he gets a rematch that'll take place in the season finale. We'll wait till our scoring updates and tell you where your 7 remaining playoff drivers are currently scored. Currently, Brian Schilling is the highest, running in 7th place. Actually, nope, they just updated, so Schilling crossed in 4th last time by. Chuck McClure back in 16th. Brian Rawson 19th. Jessica Shelton 21st. Grant Wesley, who was caught up in that last yellow, in 24th. And Tim Knopfsker back in 26th. Everything that I gave you as far as the points, throw another caveat into there because it's just taken me now the moment of noticing Jeremy Jeffries is not in the field here tonight. So the defending champion will not be advancing into the Final Four here this evening. He was already below the cut line, 8 points below the technical 4th in the standings held by Brian Rawson. So Jeremy Jeffries, Josh Metallic, a couple of former champions we know for certain will not move on to battle for the championship starting next week. So really it comes down now to 2 drivers trying to make their way in above the cut line. That would be Shelton in the 9 and Wesley in the 88. We knew Josh wasn't going to be here this week. Not certain what's going on with Jeremy. He wasn't in the bare bones race this past Monday night either at Indianapolis, so I hope everything is okay with him. As Brian Schilling trying to get himself a lap led here up the middle, and Doug Hulick leads the 3rd line. Now Denny Carroll's going to move up there and almost got spun off the nose of the 23. For the Grant Wesley fans out there, looks like he's good to go, up to speed, still in this lead pack despite being involved in that last caution. Right now he's on the top side behind the 33 of Graham McDonald. As Mark Paglia just holds the bottom of the racetrack. Donnie Garrett in 2nd. Bob Dixon running solidly in 3rd. And then 3 wide for 4th between Terry Bombard, Denny Carroll, and Brian Schilling. Looks like we do have a driver that has lost touch with the lead pack. That would be the 5 of Wiley Coate. You mentioned it, Michael. Took that pretty good hit into the inside Armco barrier back on the first caution.
Armco barrier? That's a wall.
Oh, it wasn't further up on the Armco barrier?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay. But nonetheless, that rear end damage obviously has him off the pace as middle line evaporates, outside line loses momentum, inside line has the top 4, maybe top 5 clear. against that yellow line. Terry Bombard now into 4th. John Godfrey looking for 5th. I thought Donnie Garrett might be looking to make a move there off of 2. About a lane higher onto the back straightaway, but then tucked back in behind Mark Paglia. Doug Kulik just got shuffled out to the top side, and he's going to go to the back in a hurry. Brian Schilling and Chuck McClure jumping down to that middle line in front of the 6 of Brian Rawson.
That's usually about the time that we kind of see him settle out a little bit,
yeah.
In the time in between pit stops, but I don't know.
Well, especially after 2 early yellows too, going. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that you caused.
I will, if anybody took an EOL, they shouldn't have. I should have EOL'd both times.
Should have EOL'd both times. Yeah, let me just hop back in my car to EOL.
That's a 2 in park for me, right?
Yep. That's the second incident.
Okay. I'm exiting out of my vehicle as we speak. Ryan Schilling, who has pushed a number of drivers to victory lane here during the course of these playoffs. He pushed Chuck McClure to the win 2 weeks ago. He pushed Tim Knopfsker to the win last week. Granted, if he hadn't, he said he probably would have run out of fuel. He didn't exactly have the fuel to be the lead car in the closing stages of that one. But now looking to get that 1 position better and get to victory lane for the 2nd time this season. Chuck McClure, who he pushed to the victory here 2 weeks ago, trying to maybe repay the favor. He's the wingman for that Ernie Irvan, Bobby Hamilton throwback. Sterling Marlin as well. Few cars jumping up to that 3rd line.
17.
Jessica Shelton just jumped up to that 3rd line, picking up Denny Carroll. Ron Hagelin's up there. Whoa! Was that a warp or was that a slide out of the 17 of McClure? I couldn't tell. He'll move up now to that 3rd line. That puts Brian Schilling all by his lonesome. Nope, he finds a hole down on the bottom, and now Brian Rawson's left in no man's land. A reminder to everybody that, of course, we'll be back here next Thursday night to begin the round of the Final 4. 2 races in that round, a new format that was implemented a few seasons ago. It's not a one-and-done finale. It's the accumulation of points between 2 races in the final round. And even then, with that new format, we've had it come down to single-digit points advantages for the championship. But we will be back on your screens earlier than that, because Monday night we've got the Primetime Racing League's special event. It's the christening of the brand new Primetime Super Speedway. We'll be coming to you live from Primetime Racing League at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time again on Monday night, so be sure to join us for that one. 66 laps of racing around the brand new designed Super Speedway known as Primetime Super Speedway, and three times fuel.
And I won't be there because I have to work on my real job.
He has to count his store, which I've told him is just 1. I don't know why he needs to count higher than 1.
I have to count the things in the store.
Yes, I know it's the inventory, but you always say I have to count my store. How difficult can that be? 1 store, done.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy.
Unless you're of the adage, everything the light touches is mine. Granted, though, I can't make any references because I know that I've seen your store once, and I don't remember any of the businesses that are around it.
Dairy Queen.
Was there a Dairy Queen? I don't even remember it.
Yeah, it was right next to it.
That's probably why I don't remember it.
Wizards are prohibited. You know what you did.
Brian Schilling now moving up to the top with Chuck McClure, trying to get to the race lead. Now remember, for a few of these drivers, they don't have to win to make their way into the playoffs. Brian Schilling, he's above the cut line. Chuck McClure, he's above the cut line. But, and I don't know if this holds true for all drivers, and Michael, you can weigh in on this too, but this is just a personal note for me. I find that in super speedway racing, if I race aggressively, I make less mistakes than if I race conservatively.
I mean, it can go both ways. I've raced aggressively too, and you saw what happened the one time I did when I accidentally forced, that certain incident at Atlanta in Maverick when I wasn't clear, but I made myself clear.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about Bruno either. And we don't talk about cautions, but that didn't work out so well, did it? We do have a second driver out of the race. Wiley Coate, we already documented the damage he had. He, a couple of laps ago, brought his Kellogg's Frosted Flakes machine down pit road and made the left-hand turn to the garage, joining Doug Woolley. So now 30 cars running. All 30 at this point are on the lead lap. Next time by, gonna be 40 laps to go here tonight. And of course, as well, if you didn't tune in a couple of weeks ago to this race, the elimination race, you're going to want to keep an eye on this race here tonight, because we mentioned this at the beginning of the season. Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway is where everything is going down in terms of importance. This was the season opener. It was the regular season finale where the playoffs were put together. It was the home of all of our elimination races, including tonight. And ultimately, in 2 weeks, it will be where we crown the season 60. I just lost. Is it 62 or 63? 62. Season 62 champion. Well, Mark Paglia is making a case for himself here to garner the bonus point for most laps led. He's been out in front for 20 of the circuits so far here tonight. The only other drivers that have led.
Circuit City?
Rest in peace. I think. Wait, yeah, they're one of the ones that went bankrupt, right?
I think so.
I think they did.
Circuit City?
Yeah. The only other drivers that have led tonight, Ulysses Sandoval has led 2 laps, and then Brian Schilling, Brian Rawson, Denny Carroll, and Bob Seminara have all taken a lap out in front. That is 2 of your playoff drivers there, Schilling and Rawson, that have gotten themselves a bonus point.
Kind of died out a little bit. So I wonder, Seth, we're probably, about maybe another 7-8 laps away from pit stops?
I wasn't going to tempt fate. I do have the number, but I didn't want to tempt fate for a third time tonight. Do you want to know?
What?
Do you want to know the actual number? Will you be mad if I cause another caution?
All right, what's the number?
It's exactly what you said, 7 laps.
Ha, I was right.
You were right. Yep. We went back green on lap 14. So around the 35 lap mark, maybe a little sooner than that for some drivers. Might come to pit road somewhere starting around maybe lap 33. Let's drop back here. Shelton, who got stuck in the middle and faded back a bit. Got that black flag as well on pit road, has made her way now up into, I believe she's just either on the inside or the outside of the top 10. I think this is a battle for 10th between her and Kelly Causey. Grant Wesley, who was caught up in that second yellow. He's been able to make his way up last time by in 15th. That was a big side-to-side warp out of the 63 of Keith Bynum back there, who's on the top of 3 wide. Here comes Bob Dixon to pit road. Usually sets the trend of beginning green flag pit stops. Tim Nofsker just riding here at the back. He is the furthest back of the playoff contenders. But remember, he's already locked into the Final Four. So he doesn't have to get up there and risk his car getting torn up and battling at this point in time. He can bide his time, wait for his moment in the closing stages, and maybe go for a series-leading 3rd win on the season. Right now, he and Brian Rawson, the only 2 multi-time winners on the year. And I think we got some more drivers coming to pit road here. I think Paglia might be one of them, as he's led a majority of this green flag run. Nope, he's not coming in, but Donnie Garrett is. And he's bringing down a host of other drivers there. Denny Carroll, Ulysses Sandoval, Graham McDonald, Greg Lovell. Ooh, we're almost 3 wide on pit road there. Mike Mangialardi, Ron
Has it been 7
Hagelin.
laps already?
Well, they're pitting a little sooner than I expected, to be honest with you.
Maybe trying to stay into one more stop.
Yeah, that could be. They could be a little under the window to be able to.
Mangialardi overshot his pit stall.
And that'll cost him some
He's
time.
going backwards a lot. That might cost him his actual race.
Oh, boy. And I think there's a point, too, where if you overshoot your pit stall, even if you back up to it, they actually won't bring the pit sign back down and service you.
I think that's what happened because he was trying to get service and he never got it.
Here comes some more on a pit road. Group of... Oh, Terry! He saves it, but I don't think he's going to make it onto pit road here.
He's going to have to go around.
Yep. So what was going to be a group of about 9 now is about 8 drivers.
Brian Rawson with the lead now.
And Rawson had already led a lap, so this does not garner him another bonus point. Greg Palmer, Kelly Causey, Grant Wesley, Joe DeSpirito, Jessica Shelton. These guys got to get down to the bottom if they're planning to pit, and they've got cars leaving pit road here that they're having to go around the outside of. Graham McDonald now going to move up out of the way, yield the inside line to the leaders. Oh, I think my NR might have just crashed.
Your game crashed?
I think it did.
Oh no, my game crashed.
Nope, it didn't. I don't know what just happened there.
You might have clicked out on accident, maybe?
No, I actually didn't click anything, but it was as if I did. Oh, Bob Seminara had a problem there. We didn't catch it, but he's in the grass, still
Doug
rolling.
McClure might actually cycle around with the lead. Nope, maybe not.
Looks like everybody from that lead group came down pit road. I don't know what in the world just happened there.
Donnie Garrett's going to have the lead, I think, after this round of pit stops.
I think you're right. Garrett, Carroll, and Sandoval swinging around the outside of McClure, Schilling, and Paglia. Looks like the 043 of Brian Lovell. He might have gotten hit with a penalty. He's coming back down pit road. There's drivers leaving pit lane. Mangialardi in the 029. Bernie Mobbs the 31. There's Shelton in the 9. And here's the group they're trying to catch. Greg Palmer came out the leader of this pack. And he's going to have Donnie Garrett pulling up alongside of him for what is eventually going to be the lead. Look at the mile per hour difference. Greg was going 188 top speed into turn 3. Donnie Garrett was going 198. 10 mile per hour difference. We'll get some updates here on the cycle of pit stops. As Donnie Garrett going to inherit the top position. He just ran his fastest lap of the race right there. Denny Carroll will slot into second. Ulysses Sandoval in third. Chuck McClure and Brian Schilling in fourth and fifth. Again, a couple of drivers, if they finish right there, they will join Tim Nofsker in the final 4. And we would wait to find out who the 4th driver would be. I believe right now it would be the 6 of Brian Rawson, who is currently cycled into the 8th position. We have 12 drivers in this lead group. Bob Seminara going to go a lap down to the leaders after his issue coming on to pit road. Jessica Shelton, right now in 13th, has a line of cars behind her, trying to make their way up here and make this a big group once again. I believe if they catch up, then we would end up having a total of 23 drivers in the lead pack, and I think she does have the draft off the 712 of Bob Seminara, so they are going to reel in that lead pack very quickly and double the size of this lead group. Brought up, Michael, about them maybe with it looking like they came pit road a couple laps sooner than we had projected. You talked about them maybe doing that so that way they know they can make it on one more stop. So final pit stop of the evening probably going to be somewhere between laps 50 to 55.
And look at that second pack. That second pack's going to catch this front pack.
Yes, they are. That last time by, leader of this first pack, Donnie Garrett, ran a 48.061. Shelton, the leader of the second pack, ran a 47.616. That's about 3 to 4 tenths of a second faster than the lead group.
Yeah.
So they are going to catch in a hurry, and they're going to have momentum. It'll be interesting to see. Let's drop back here to Shelton, because as they're closing on this lead group, what do you think? Do they just ride in line once they catch up here to Spirito and Nosker, or do they keep this momentum going and try and form an outside line?
It depends on the momentum they have, Seth. If they catch them in the right spot, they could take the momentum and try it, or Jess could just fall in line and just ride. It really depends. With her being the leader of that pack, she was using up a little bit more fuel.
Yeah, that run, it kind of looks like maybe she dragged the brake a little bit and just slowly drafted up to the back of Seminara. Didn't keep that big run going. Now, Joe DeSpirito will jump up to the top, and everybody looks like they're going to follow him up there from the second group. So it was a couple of the straggler cars from the first pack that decide, hey, we're going to go up here to the high line. Tim Knopfler's going to go to the bottom all by himself. That makes it 3 wide with Kelly Causey in the middle. And now Knopfler, with no help on the inside line, is going to have to back out of that. Oh, we got a spin in the back there in the tri-oval. Graham McDonald, Greg Lovell.
And there's a caution.
Bobby Farrell was in that. I think Bob Dixon might have also been in that. There was a red car behind the 33. I couldn't identify it, but I think it was the STP car.
Greg Lovell, 880. He was in it. Yeah, I don't see anybody else. Maybe Bob Dixon. I don't know.
Caution out for the third time here tonight. Second incident we've had in the tri-oval this evening. Billy Elliser might have also been involved. He was in the vicinity. May not necessarily have gotten damage from the wreck, though. Might have just been able to slide his way through. As all these leaders here, they actually went by the pace car, and they're going to have to wait quite a bit for the pace car to catch back up to them before they get around here to pit road entry. I mean, they're at a crawl right now, down to 30 miles per hour. Pace car has to bypass them before they get to pit road entry, or they get a black flag. There's the rusty little tribute pace car. He'll pick them up, and then they'll all be able to hit pit road. For those wondering, no. If they pit now, they cannot make it the rest of the way on fuel, but most of them are all going to come down pit lane anyway. Take the opportunity here under caution. Let's go back and see what brought out this yellow, as we'll take it back to the tri-oval. And it may have been another stack up. Ooh, wow. 33 of Graham McDonald into the left rear quarter panel of Bobby Farrell. Turns him around to the outside wall. Bob Dixon, Greg Lovell, and Billy Ellis are absolutely nowhere to be able to go, as they were all trapped on that outside line. Let's take another look at it here. There was some movement ahead of Farrell by the 63 of Keith Bynum, and I don't know if the 92 moves up in reaction to that. No. 33 just pulls low and spins the 92 around. Now, he may have gotten a bump from behind him, not certain, but Farrell never changed his line. He just got hooked. So that brings out the caution for the third time here tonight. Big break if your name is Bob Seminara and Mike Mangialardi, because they were the only two cars one lap down, and they will both get the free pass, be back on the lead lap. Looks like the 36 of Jeff Crivello has come to pit road.
I got to go to the commentator's room.
Okay.
Thank gosh we're under caution.
We are indeed. Crivello out of the race. He'll finish in the 30th position, joining Wiley Coate and Doug Woolley in the garage area. Again, reminder everybody that Monday night we've got the Primetime Racing League special event, as Primetime Super Speedway will be christened for the very first time, live here on the Flatout Racing Network, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to join us for that one. Should be a good one. 66 laps at the brand new Super Speedway. That's Monday night here on FRN. Well, Kelly Causey, now the new race leader here. I think we're going to have some gamesmanship up at the front. We'll see who the official leader is going to be when we go back green. Going to be outside of the fuel window, though. They will have to pit at least one more time before the conclusion. We're going to take an FRN race break. You won't miss a bit of the action, and coverage will continue right after this. Lights out top the pace car. We're
You're
going
a
to go
pace
back
car.
green with, looks like 25 laps to go. You've seen during this race break, Kelly Causey came to pit road at the 1 to green. These cars are popping up and down, throwing in the clutch, trying to save every bit of fuel that they can. But they're not trying to save fuel to get to the end because that is impossible with the number of laps that are left. What they're trying to do here, Michael, is basically try and make a difference of coming down pit road to take a splash or come down pit road to take half a can, because people may not think it, but those extra 1, 2, 3 seconds can be precious by the time everything cycles around.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So Bernie Mobbs
everywhere trying to eat this brownie that you can't have.
Were you a scout?
A scout?
A brownie scout.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Ah, okay. Well, apparently you never used a brownie camera either.
Nope.
Bernie Mobbs led his first lap of the night just moments ago, and he'll lead us back to green. Mark Paglia, who's led the most laps tonight, 24 in total, lines up second. Denny Carroll, Donnie Garrett, Chuck McClure, your top 5. McClure, the highest running of your playoff drivers. And as we get ready to go back green, let's just remind everybody of the current playoff grid. Here's a look. Nofsker's already locked in. We know Metallic and Jeffries, not in the field, will be eliminated. Schilling, right now going to restart in 7th. McClure going to restart in 5th, so they're still above the cut line. Brian Rawson going to restart in 10th. So right now, the pressure is on Grant Wesley and Jessica Shelton. Wesley's going to restart up in 8th. Shelton came to pit road, I believe, every lap here under this caution period, just adding in that extra little bit of fuel. We'll see if it pans out to her benefit by the end of the night. As things stand right now, Wesley and Shelton are in a must-win situation just based off the current running order of the other playoff participants. You saw Bob Seminara, Mike Mangialardi get the free pass under that yellow flag, so 29 drivers on the lead lap, all running. Jeff Carvello, Wiley Coate, Doug Woolley, the only 3 drivers out of the race so far here tonight. Sure, stick around post-race for the upper end post-race wind-down. We'll be interviewing our top 3 finishers. Hopefully, have
we made a rule change. It's only going to be the top 2, so we can get so we can get to our movie.
The top 2.5.
2.5. Yeah, you only get half an interview. 1 question. That's it.
But we'll hopefully have the point standings calculated for you as well before we go off the air to give you your final 4. But as we usually do, we will state that it will be an unofficial Final 4, because at the end of last elimination race, we thought we had the 8 drivers for you, and of course, stuff happened during the course of the week, and there was actually a change for that final transfer spot. So tune in next week to find out who officially is bound for the championship. We know at this point we can definitely tell you Tim Nofsker. There's nothing he can do tonight that's going to eliminate him from battling for the championship in the next couple of weeks. However, the other 3, yeah, we got to wait and see. Dead even around this racetrack right now. Paglia on the middle. Is that a bad bump, or I don't know what that was?
They got in the lead. That's the one thing that matters.
It did, yeah. Maybe he got shoved by Donnie Garrett.
It's like, whoa, buddy.
Bernie Mobbs holding that inside line there. Both these drivers, former playoff contenders in previous seasons. Neither one have been to victory lane yet this season. Bernie Mobbs coming into this race currently 16th in points. Mark Paglia 20th in points. Chuck McClure on the move. Up to the 2nd position. Brian Schilling right there behind him. 3rd line forming. That's Ulysses Sandoval up there on the top. Getting a push from Grant Wesley. Brian Rawson up there as well. It's got to be tough for Grant Wesley up in this position. He's up inside of the top 10, but he looks in front of him. Or I'm sorry, behind him. He's got Brian Rawson. He looks to around 10, 11 o'clock. He sees Chuck McClure and Brian Schilling running ahead of him. He needs these drivers to run into some kind of bad luck to capitalize and maybe snipe a spot in the Final Four. At this point in time, he's in a must-win situation, and that outside line is just not going anywhere. Tell you what, a driver that's kind of been through the wars here tonight, Brian Lovell. Involved in one of the early cautions. Got a speeding penalty, had to come back down and serve it. Was barely on the tail end of the lead lap when the most recent caution came out. And he is now up inside of the top 10. He was scored 13th last time by. He's now up to the 8th position, so good job keeping it in the game here for Brian Lovell. And right now with a shot of, if not finishing inside of the top 10, maybe in the top 5.
Something is wrong with Ulysses Sandoval, and I say this because every time he seems to lead a line, that line dies. So I don't know if it's just maybe him not being able to hold a line or run properly, but something happens when he tries to lead a line, and that line just dies out.
Brian Rawson behind him, and yeah, to your point, the both of them kind of free-falling there. Now Rawson tucks in front of Kelly Causey. Ulysses left up there in the top line without any drafting help. It might be that he's putting a little too much wheel in it as the lead car scrubs off some speed through these corners. It's been a while since I've run this racetrack, but I feel like this is one of those particular super speedways you need to hold a pretty wheel. If you're a little too hard on the turning, the right rear wants to slide, that scrubs off momentum, that scrubs off speed, and that doesn't help the line you're trying to lead up to the front. Bernie Mobbs and that inside line is now gone to the point. Chuck McClure there in second, Brian Schilling in third. Now I will also point out here that when the Final Four is compiled at the end of the night, bonus points that they accumulated during the course of the regular season and the playoffs will not apply. All 4 drivers will start out at the same number of points. We've had bonus points in the round of, well, what was then the round of 14. We then also had bonus points carry over into the round of 8. That will not be the case here for the Final Four. So Nofsker, yes, he's won his way into the playoffs. One of our other playoff drivers might end up winning here tonight, but that will not get them extra bonus points heading into the final round. And Chuck McClure, with a nice little inside to outside ploy there on Bernie Mobbs out of turn 2. With the help of Brian Schilling, he'll go to the race lead. But again,
down the line, outside lane there. Are they gonna cut down, Seth, or they're gonna try to stay in the middle?
It's like for right now, they're gonna just run that middle line. Grant Wesley there, Donnie Garrett. Let's address the thing though, that the kind of elephant in the room. That everybody's still gonna have to come to pit road.
I was waiting to see if you were gonna say it.
These drivers are going to have to hit pit lane before this race is over. If they stretch it the furthest possible on their fuel window, they're going to pit around 5 laps to go.
Hey Seth, you want to know why you'll never be good on pit road?
Why is that?
Because you always miss your exits.
That cut deep.
Wow, it really made you think, didn't it?
No, all of a sudden, you know what? You called the race. I don't want to do it anymore. I am sad.
A nice and silent race.
I am the emotion sadness from inside out.
I don't feel.
Something happened to the 7 of Cy Jones.
Yeah, he realized you couldn't pit.
No, he was at the tail end of the pack, and I saw him lose momentum off of 2 the last time around. Oh, no. Listen to that car. He lost 4th gear. He's running in 3rd gear right now. Oh, man.
181 miles per hour.
That thing might be close to blowing up if he continues to run in 3rd gear there. We'll keep tabs on that. Tough break for Cy Jones.
Look who's worked her way into the top 10.
Following in the tire tracks of Joe DeSpirito, Shelton. Now P8, Grant Wesley, the other driver, having to win his way into the next round. On the inside line there, both drivers have fought their way up into the top 10. Both drivers for sure here tonight as well had to kind of don their diplomatic suit and try and find some people to be able to work with them here this evening, because we know that the 4, the 17, the 088, they all work together. We've seen that during the course of the last few weeks. If you're going to go up against them, you got to have numbers. You got to have friends. You got to have allies. Looks like both drivers, the 9 and the 88, do have just that. Now, Brian Rawson in the 6 is behind both the 88 and the 9, but if he can keep both of them within 7 positions, then he's still okay. And I'm seeing a radio light up. I don't know if that's an indication of someone coming to pit road. Fuel window's open to make it the rest of the way, though at this point in time, I think you'd have to take a can and a half.
31 coming up the road.
Bernie Mobs. Interesting. And coming down all by himself. Let me double check and see. Oh. So the reason Bernie's pitting this early is because he did not come to pit road the entirety of the last caution. So he had to pit a lot earlier than everybody else. The gamble did not pay off. I think he was planning on a yellow flag, putting everybody back in the same strategy as he was, and gained track position in the process. That did not pan out, and he has to pit all by his lonesome, which is usually not a good thing at a super speedway. Things kind of fanned out back outside of the top 10, double wide between Grant Wesley and Brian Rawson. You can hear the engine of Bernie Mobs leaving pit lane. Looks like he's going to probably lose a lap here as he's coming off of pit road out of turn 2. The field thundering through the center of 1 and 2 and obviously carrying a lot more speed. Chuck McClure now going to move down to the bottom of the racetrack here. They were both running the middle line, he and Brian Schilling, so that says to me we might be drawing close to these drivers planning for an entry to pit road. They can go another 5 laps or so before they have to hit pit lane. Greg Palmer right now in the 3rd spot. Highest running of the non-playoff drivers. Great run for the 22. Nofsker, who's already locked into the Final Four, would love to win back-to-back races, get his 3rd win on the season. He's right now tied with Brian Rawson for most wins here in season 62. He and Rawson the only 2 multi-time winners on the season. All the other previous winners have only been to victory lane once. And Mark Paglia has officially locked up the bonus point for most laps led. 28 laps led for driver 28. Mike Mangialardi coming to pit road. Mangialardi had worked his way up to 22nd after getting the lucky dog under the last yellow. And he's going to pit all by his lonesome. Woo, wiggle back there by Ulysses Sandoval. Right in front of Billy Elliser. Keeps it pointed in the right direction. Less than 10 laps to go, so at this point in time, any cautions would be raced back to the start-finish lines. Mark Paglia down below the yellow line there. Did not advance his position, tucked back up in front of Bob Seminare. I think the 28 might be pitting because the 712 and the 24 shaded up like they were going to pass around the outside. Yep, Paglia's coming in, and so is McClure from the lead. Schilling's in, big pack of cars, and we got a wreck at the back of this. Denny Carroll's going to get clipped. Brian Lovell, Greg Lovell, Ulysses Sandoval, Billy Elliser, Glenn Harris further back, Bobby Farrell. I think all the playoff contenders that came down were not affected by this. All the drivers pitting right now, they're going to have to take on, I believe, a can of fuel. I don't think they can get away with a half can. Bob Seminara inherits the race lead. See if he and Despirito and company come to pit road this time. Yes, they will. Bob Dixon, who's usually one of the first to pit road on a pit stop cycle, he actually plays the odds and stays out long on this run.
You never know what's going to happen, though.
No, I mean, you may get a yellow.
What is happening with Ulysses? Why is he so slow?
Well, he was involved in that wreck on pit road.
Oh. Well, I mean, he was still, I felt like he was slow before that, though.
Brian Lovell, who I believe was the one that triggered the wreck coming to pit lane, he has taken his car to the garage area. So he's going to finish in 29th. It's a tough break there. He was doing a great job mounting the comeback after some earlier issues. And now we expect Dixon to come to pit road. Here he is, along with Terry Bombard and John Godfrey. Who's that pitting up ahead of them? That's the 41 of Denny Carroll. Having to come back down pit lane. Might have been a speeding penalty for him. And remember, he's in the conversation for the bracket challenge, facing off against Bob Seminara, who back there is having a little side-to-side warp. Chuck McClure inherits the race lead, it looks like here. Schilling into second, Nofsker into third.
It's going to be interesting to position yourself right in the right spot for these final few laps. So.
And again, we keep asking this question, how long do you wait to make the move? Some drivers like to make the move on the last lap, but if a caution comes out during the point of no return, depending on where it is, you might have waited too long. We've seen caution flags come out just after the leader crossed the start-finish line, so you've got a full over 2.5 miles to make a move, but we've seen cautions come out right when the drivers are coming to the start-finish line. So there's only, maybe 2 seconds to make a move. That's not enough time. So it's all about what the timing is to make said move.
Yeah, and we've got 7 laps to go, 6.5 actually right about now, and set top 2 right now, which would cycle around to Chuck and the 4 of Brian Schilling, final 4 spots.
Denny Carroll came back down pit road after the speeding penalty and retired out of the race.
Cars.
Yep, I was going to mention, though, too, Donnie Garrett, you saw the 77, coming back to pit road. Penalty for him speeding. Also, the 23 of Doug Kulik hit with a speeding penalty. And Ulysses Sandoval just came down pit road, and he headed to the garage area. So they are piling up like cordwood here. We've had 3 retirees in the last 10 laps.
Let's look at these top 7. Let's talk about positioning.
5 of them are playoff drivers.
Yep.
And you got Grant Wesley not that far back there either.
He's outside the top 10, though.
I think
he's a lap down or something. He has to be, at least, unless he's just out of the top 10.
No, he's out of the top 10. He's 11th right now. Yeah, all 6 of your remaining playoff drivers are up here in this lead group. There's Hewlett coming to pit lane.
Question is, for folks like Jess and Grant, where do they go? How do they get the run going?
And right now, they are in a must-win. All 6 playoff contenders right now in this lead group. The 9 and the 88 have to win. They cannot accumulate enough points to get into the Final 4. It's just not mathematically possible.
There's a small group on the inside. Where will the rest of these cars go, and will the momentum help them?
Terry Bombard's down that bottom. Grant Wesley there as well. Shelton and Grant both have a common cause right now, and that's at least to just get to the front. They can battle it out for the win after that, but nothing's going to matter unless they get to the front first.
For wins. Don't we, Seth?
Huh?
And we know how well Jess and Grant battle for wins.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Even if it comes down to a splitter.
There's just not enough cars on the inside. They're trying, but, I mean, honestly, Seth, me and you both know the momentum's on that higher lane.
Well, not necessarily here. Palmer's going to jump down there.
That might be just a little bit of help.
At this racetrack, if you can keep the draft tight, inside line actually is the preferred line, and they're getting the numbers game. Now the question is, McClure, Schilling, they're going to see this coming. Do they jump down and block this run, or do they stay committed to this middle line together?
Well,
they got to make a decision quick.
Yeah, they're going to have to now.
They're staying on that middle line, and they're organized on the bottom. Now, the driver on the hot seat right now would be Brian Rawson. If Grant or Jess win, Brian, I believe, mathematically would be the driver eliminated.
Don't forget to give your disclaimer.
Oh, yeah, because we do have lap machines here as well, so we are past that point of no return.
We're at 3 laps to go anyway.
Caution comes out. We stay with the leaders, watch the race back to the line, whether it be coming to the yellow flag or coming to the checkered flag. We'll look at any incidents, either under the pacing laps or post-race if necessary. But hopefully we can get around here to the white flag and we don't even need that criteria.
Look at this inside lane trying. They have got to get higher. They've got to squeeze. I don't know. Don't you think that?
Well,
think they got to get a little tighter in the draft?
You do that, and if the outside line pinches you down, caution comes out, and there goes your hopes.
They've got to get side by side, though.
2
laps.
I
can guarantee you Jess is pushing the back of that 22.
Numbers are pretty even here. A couple of drivers just abandoned the inside line, went up to the top.
Top will get the run out of the corner, but if they stay tight on the inside, they might be able to have a chance.
Yeah, if they shove on the inside, I think they can counter the momentum the middle line gets down the straightaways. Palmer can get alongside of McClure through the corners, and then he loses about a half car length to a full car length on the straights. Again, there you see him alongside the 17. Can they keep the momentum up off of 4?
Coming to the white flag. Jess might not have an opportunity to win, but she's going to try to make sure that if she... Oh, my gosh.
Oh, Kelly Causey going to take a look up there for a third line. That's going to hurt that middle line. 3 wide now. Inside line's going to get this advantage through 1 and 2. Palmer's going to clear to the lead. Can they make it back around to the checkers? Push is going to come to shove now. Doesn't look like Palmer's clear yet. McClure back alongside. 3 wide around the 5th, 6th position.
Maybe if they had another lap or 2 set, it might make all the difference here.
Shelton trying to get Palmer clear, but I don't think she'd be clear to be able to make a move.
It's going to have to wait and see. She's
Off
gonna,
of
she's gonna
4. We're going to get ourselves a photo finish. I think Bombard gets shuffled out. Palmer on the bottom. McClure on the top. Gonna be close for this win here tonight at BSR, and I think Chuck McClure got it.
Oh, that was close.
Back-to-back victories here at this racetrack for Chuck McClure. Back-to-back wins in the elimination races. McClure will go championship racing. Schilling will go championship racing. And I believe the final driver to point his way in will be the 2-time winner, Brian Rawson. Waiting for interval to come in here. Looks like it was 23 1/1000ths of a second. McClure over Palmer. You knew it was going to be close. The numbers were even on both lanes.
Not sure there was much any of the other drivers could
do,
honestly.
No, all they could do was shove. That's all they could do. Shove and try and keep the momentum going for their respective line. They were all boxed in.
Yeah. Real tough break for those that didn't quite make it in.
Shelton going to finish in 4th. Wesley in 6th. Had strong runs tonight, but again, as I said, the playoff drivers always seem to run around each other, so it puts most of the drivers in must-win situations in the elimination races. They can't usually always rely on pointing their way into the next round because it's only about maybe 3, 4, 5 points that they gain. They aren't able to make a huge chunk play unless a driver really has a bad night. Chuck McClure is going to join Tim Nofsker and Brian Rawson as a multi-time winner, and those 3 drivers, along with Brian Schilling, they're going to be battling for the championship starting next week at Talladega Superspeedway. You gotta think, if Chuck McClure is leading the points after next week, or a couple of points back, we're coming back to this racetrack for the season finale, and he is 2 for 2 at this venue in the playoffs. Gotta be considered a favorite when we come back here in 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Well, Chuck went the entire regular season without a victory, pointed his way into the playoffs, won his way into the round of 8, now wins his way into the Final 4. And again, we'll wait for the scoring and everything here, but I believe that unofficially it will be Tim Nofsker, Chuck McClure, Brian Schilling, and Brian Rawson, who will be your 4 drivers battling for the championship. 3 of those drivers, I'd have to double check, but I believe 3 of those drivers, or 2 of those drivers, former champions, Tim Nofsker and Brian Rawson, looking for their first championship of their career. And for Brian Rawson, this is his first Final Four appearance. You've been seeing it scrolling along the top of your screen, but we'll show you the full finishing results from tonight. McClure and Palmer with that photo finish to the line. We'll actually freeze frame it on the finish there to the stripe. Show you just how close that was. There it is. Less than a quarter of a car length. Brian Schilling going to bring it home in third, so that is his, I want to say, 4th straight podium here at the playoffs. I'd have to double check on that. Jessica Shelton, strong run, great effort in 4th. Tim Nofsker, who was already locked into the next round, going to finish out with a top 5. Grant Wesley will bring it home in 6th. Bob Seminara, he'll move on to face off against Joe DeSpirito in the finals of the Bracket Challenge as he brings home 7th. Mark Pagley, who led the most laps here tonight after starting on the pole, solid top 10 in 8th. Joe DeSpirito going to bring it home in 9th place, and Brian Rawson, 10th place, will be enough for the driver that came in, the cut line driver, to advance into his first Final Four appearance. We didn't talk much about Ron Hagelin here tonight, and we'll have 5 ones in a row as the 111 finishes in 11th. Keith Bynum, who was involved in the first caution of the night, comes back for 12th. Kelly Causey, great run in 13th with Terry Bombard and Bob Dixon bringing it home, the completion of the top 15. John Godfrey in 16th, Graham McDonald 17th, 18th for Bernie Mobbs, Man Gilardi, Billy Ellis are your top 20. Rest of the drivers finished on the lead lap down to 24th were Glenn Harris, Doug Kulick, Donnie Garrett, and Bobby Farrell. Cy Jones, Greg Lovell each finished a lap down through 26th, and then 6 drivers failed to reach the conclusion of this race. Ulysses Sandoval, Denny Carroll, Brian Lovell, Jeff Crivello, Wiley Coate, and Doug Woolley. Again, we have to wait for official scoring, but I believe that the 4 drivers that are eliminated here from the round of 8 will not advance to the round of 4 are going to be Jessica Shelton, Grant Wesley, as well as Josh Metallic and Jeremy Jeffries. So the defending champion will not defend his title here in Season 62 as we head into our FRN post-race wind down. Time to dial up our podium finishers. A couple of them going to be battling for the championship starting next week, and we'll kick things off with one of those drivers here. See if we get a hold of Brian Schilling.
User was moved.
Hey, Brian, Michael, and Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Yeah, long time no see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've only talked to you, I think, every race here of the playoffs so far, a couple of runner-up finishes so far since the postseason began. And again, I said this last week, and I'm going to say it this week. Heading now into the Final Four, the most consistent car of the playoffs. I know you don't have the checkered flags here, but you've got the consistency, you've got the top 5 finishes. Momentum certainly seems like it's on your side, but Michael and I were talking about this. Seemed like you're not able to see exactly everything that's going on behind you, but it looked like even lanes on the bottom and top there in those final runs. Were you at that point in time just kind of boxed in and just had to shove your line to try and get Chuck that win, get you that 3rd position?
Yeah, I mean, the 3rd lane there came right there at the end, but I knew just with who I had in that lane, I wasn't going to leave Chuck, and I know Tim wasn't going to leave me. So it's, that decision was made. We just pushed as hard as we could.
Now, you talk about that 3rd lane. We've talked a lot about this racetrack, how the way this racetrack races is different in comparison to the way the lines work at Talladega Superspeedway. Did you at any point think that maybe that inside line was going to get an advantage on you, especially when that 3rd line started to peak out there? Because we've documented here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway specifically, whenever a 3rd lane forms, it looks like all the momentum of that middle line starts to dissipate, and then the inside line gains the advantage. Or did you have the confidence that you, Chuck, Tim, were going to be able to keep a tight enough draft that that 3rd line wasn't going to matter?
I was a little concerned at first, but then I seen we were holding pretty good. Then, I'm like, game on when I seen we, maybe lost a car length. So I started pushing even harder at that point.
Now, you don't have to give anything away now, but I might ask you this same question if we are in the podium finishing next week. You've now got yourself, you've got Nofsker, you've got McClure. According to the points we've gotten everything here, obviously Nofsker winning his way in, McClure winning his way in, you point your way in. You're all into the Final Four. You guys have had an alliance all season long. You've worked together to be able to get each other into the playoffs, advance into the playoffs, etc. At what point does the teammates go away with the championship hanging in the balance? Is it next week, or do we see it when we come back here in 2 weeks' time? At some point, only one of you can take home the trophy.
Oh, I know. That's but that thought's been in the back of my head here. After pushing Tim last week and then being behind Chuck this week, it's like I honestly don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you.
That gives more people more of an incentive to tune in and kind of see when the alliance breaks up. But Brian, I mean, incredible job here tonight once again. We always seem to see you up here in the conversation for these victories. Again, I will say, statistically, the most consistent driver here in the playoffs, and with the way the format is as well, consistency wins championships just as much as checkered flags do. So we look forward to seeing if you can keep this momentum going when we head into next week at Talladega. It, of course, sets the table for when we come back here for the season finale at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Before we let you go, though, floor is yours for thank you sponsors and shoutouts.
All right. I know I've been slacking on our sponsors, so thank you to Ultimate Garage Floors, the Dixon Brothers, Tim Nofsker, Race LM, 260 Motorsports, Bones, Prime. Without these two, this would never happen. All the work. Josh, hopefully you're able to watch, put on a good show. Just a great time. So, thank you for putting these on. Like I said, I always put them on, the next day or the day after to watch them. So, and thank you to all the drivers that show up.
Well, Brian Schilling, he's a former champion in the series. He's on the road to maybe being a multi-time champion here, as he's looking for another championship in the Talladega Challenge Series. He'll look to begin that road in the Final Four starting next week at Talladega Superspeedway. Congratulations once again on the great run here tonight. Best of luck next week when we head to the high banks of Talladega, and then, of course, end the thing off when we come back here to BSR.
Thank you, and congrats, Chuck, and thank you, Timmy.
Brian Schilling with the third place performance here tonight.
Hey, before we bring up the next person, who were the final four again in your?
Did I get it right?
A certain somebody in my ear was telling me about how she was higher than Grant in points or something and finished higher than he did by a certain amount. So I was curious as to who the final four was.
They actually have calculated the points. I wasn't going to make the announcement until after we interviewed everybody, though.
Well, a certain little birdie is wanting me to ask who the final four were, at least from what we thought was.
Well, let's just say I got the prediction correct.
Well, that doesn't exactly.
The points are updated. You can go and check them out on the website. Anyway, we're gonna
stop being difficult.
I am difficult, but we're gonna now talk to our second place finisher. Let's see if we can dial up the highest finishing of the non-playoff contenders here tonight. See if we can get a hold of Greg Palmer.
User was moved to your
Hey, Greg,
channel.
it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Oh, man, so close to getting that first win here of Season 62. Now, we said this to Brian. I'm not necessarily certain if you were able to see it from your vantage point. We obviously have the benefit of looking out over the entire field of cars, but it looked like even numbers on the bottom and on the top. Usually, it seems like the inside line gets a bit more of an advantage here at this racetrack. You could get up alongside of Chuck. He kind of would get a little advantage of you on that back straightaway, but then when the third line formed, you almost got clear on him. What little more did you need to make sure that you could maybe then get out clear, control both lanes?
I thought, just like you said, Seth, the bottom line was moving. When the second lane, middle lane came up, we would take advantage going down the backstretch. I'm saying to myself, I got to stay low. I got to stay low. I got just behind me. She's pushing me. And hopefully I can get a win. But it was that close. You saw it at the finish line. It was that close.
Now, Michael brought up a great question, and we've seen drivers utilize this at Talladega. We've even seen drivers share double wide in the middle line, but the inside line will kind of sometimes try and push that middle line up, take away their advantage, their run off of the corner. Michael was wondering if maybe you guys on the inside line might try shifting up a little bit, crowd that middle line. Did that enter into your mind at any point to maybe try and gain a little bit of advantage or at least take away their advantage on straightaway speed?
That was the choice, and that's the choice always here at Talladega. Move up to the second line and, you know, get pushed to the win, add more to the middle line so it goes, the draft is faster. But I thought for sure that that lower line, the first line, was definitely gonna win. I was gonna get across that start finish line by at least a half a car length. But like you said, you know, other cars joined in the middle and pushed, and I had to lose by much. I don't mind losing to Chuck. I really don't. It was close. It was a clean race. I enjoyed myself, and I didn't expect to be up there. I did not expect to be up there at all.
Definitely close. And, in the closing stage of a race like this, it comes down to time. We were talking about the fact that, specifically at this racetrack, too, it seems like the caution comes at the most inopportune times for drivers to be able to make a move for the win. A lot of times through the tri-oval or just after the tri-oval, and immediately the caution comes out, and there's not enough time to even be able to have a thought of a move. How difficult was it here tonight in timing a move, knowing that there was every possibility that at some point the yellow flag could possibly fly?
You know, it's a thought process. I mean, you throw it out the window. Throw it out the window. You don't know when the yellow's going to come out. Your plan gets thrown out the window. In the beginning of the race, I was gonna help Brian Rosson. He's a great driver. He's helped me in the past. I've helped him. I know he's in the top 8. So was Jess. I was gonna help Jess. Jess was in front of me. I was pushing her. No problem. But then yellows came out, this and that, shuffle. I wind up way ahead. They're behind me. You know, things happen. Wait for them to come up so I can help them. But she got behind me in the closing laps. I wish she was in front of me. I definitely would have pushed her to the win.
Well, Greg, a great run for you here tonight, right in the middle of a Final Four battle. Bring it home in the second position here, though. Almost got that victory. Needed, according to our scoring, 24 thousandths of a second to be able to get your splitter across the line first.
Wow,
But
that's close.
that is close. But a great run for you here tonight. Good qualifying effort there as well with the random qualifying draw. Congratulations on the great performance. Hopefully, we can see you in these final 2 races of the season, maybe get that one position better, get this 22 back in victory lane. But before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Oh, thanks to you guys up there in the booth for calling a great race, like always. Thanks to the admins. I know Josh couldn't be here tonight. He's on vacation, but thanks to the admins, to me and I forgot who else. Wiley, uh, everybody that runs RTG. My boys back at the shop. Um, my teammates, Pags, Causey, Godfrey, Roddy couldn't be here tonight. So Ken too. But hello, guys. Yeah, had a great race tonight. It was fun, and we'll see you guys next week.
Absolutely. That's Greg Palmer. Podium finish here tonight brings it home in the second position under the lights at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Congratulations once again on the great run. Best of luck next week as we draw close to the end of the season at Talladega.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks, Mike.
Greg Palmer coming
User
up
was
just
moved out of your
23
channel.
1,000ths of a second short to this driver, who picks up his second win of the season and his second win in the last 3 races. Let's see if we can dial up another driver who's moving on to the Final Four, Chuck McClure.
User was moved
Hey,
to
Chuck,
your
it's
channel.
Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
I'll tell you what, this 17 car is getting hot at the right time. Back-to-back wins at this racetrack. Back-to-back wins in the elimination races as well. And, oh yeah, by the way, we're coming back here in 2 weeks' time for the season finale. But a lot of momentum happening here with the 17 car. But A photo finish here tonight. It was close. We ended up seeing that it was pretty much even numbers on the inside and the outside line. We talked moments ago with Brian. He said that when that third line stepped out there, it was a little uncertain if you guys could keep up the momentum. But I mean, how much were you aware of what was happening out the back windshield there, or were you focused on just making sure that you held the right line and was able to have your drivers lined up behind you to get to the start finish line first?
Well, I was watching my mirror and I knew my two teammates were behind me, and I wasn't going to leave them for anything. I don't care if I would have finished fifth. I wasn't going to leave them. I knew I was probably okay on points at that point, and yeah, you just don't leave your wingman. That's just the way we operate.
Yeah, we talk to drivers all the time. I mean, we get the benefit of being up here. We can see everything that's happening. We have the stats in front of us, the running order in front of us. We got the points in front of us and everything. And usually I think to myself, there's no way the drivers, with everything they're having to do out there, are thinking of points. And usually every time they know the kind of situation they're in. You mentioned about the fact you knew you were pretty much safe in on points. You came into tonight, according to our calculations, about 13 points ahead of what would be the fourth in the standings cut line. You didn't need to win tonight. You just needed a solid finish. So, with that in mind, how did that change your mentality for the start of this race, and did that adjust as the race went on?
Well, I got to tell you, I was keeping an eye on the 9 and the 88 the whole race. My teammates were telling me where they were at, and I knew if I didn't even have to be ahead of them. If I was just close to them, I would be good. And yeah, it got my attention all night for sure.
Now, obviously, it's my job up here to kind of build some hype for this championship and everything. I talked with Brian. I kind of stirred the pot. I'm going to ask you the same question here. We've seen you, Nofsker, Schilling all working together here the last few races, the end of the regular season to make sure you all got into the playoffs, all working together to make sure you advance into the round of 8, and now all three of you are going to be advancing here into the round of 4. But unfortunately, we can't hand out 4 championship trophies. Only one is up for grabs in 2 weeks' time. So, we're probably going to see you guys still working together to get up to the front in the next 2 races, but at what point is it every man for himself?
I'm saying after the last pit stop, it's probably every man for himself. Co-opetition for a little while, and then gotta do what you gotta do. Wins are great, but championships are where it's at, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of want one.
Well, Chuck, it's been a while since we've seen you get a championship here in the Tally Challenge, so we wish you luck, obviously, in these upcoming 2 races. Going to be a nail biter of a Final Four. Some great competitors you're going to be going up against here as well. I mean, we saw here tonight, throw a blanket over the 4 drivers that are moving on to the final round of this championship, all finishing up inside of the top 10. All 4 have been very consistent, have all found victory lane, so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch start next week at Talladega. But before we let you go, congratulations on your win, and here's the microphone for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
Well, I appreciate you guys putting this on. I can't wait to watch this one. It's going to be good to watch. I know it is. It always is, but this one especially. Race LM for putting all this on and giving us a place to race and letting me carry their colors on my car. All the admins here, Prime, Bones, Josh, Tim, Race LM again, Jeremy, Rodney for painting the car up. It's awesome looking. It's fast. Uh, and congratulations to Brian Rawson for making it. I've become good friends with him here over the last season. A stand-up guy, and a big thank you to all 3 of my teammates. I couldn't do any of this without them.
Well, Chuck McClure, he's ready to go championship racing as he wins his way into the round of 4 here tonight. His second straight victory at this racetrack at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, and the place where the championship will be decided in 2 weeks' time, but the road begins next week at Talladega. Congratulations on the victory here tonight, Chuck. Go and enjoy it, and we look forward to seeing what your strategy is when the green flag flies next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
Well, we talked
was
with
moved out of your
2
channel.
of the drivers that are advancing into the Final Four. We already knew coming into tonight that Tim Nofsker had locked himself in with the victory last week. And you heard it there from Chuck. He made the announcement for us, I guess. Brian Rawson will get the final and 4th spot into the championship battle starting next week. He was the cut line driver, and Man, we said that it was possible that Shelton and Wesley could point their way in, but with how close everybody is, they then were in must-win situations in the closing stages. It's going to be 4 points shy for Shelton, who will be 5th, and 5 points shy for Grant Wesley, who will end up in 6th place. Neither driver will advance, but it was that close of those drivers being able to make their way into the Final Four. We knew with Metallic and Jeffries not in the field, they were going to be eliminated as well. So Schilling, McClure, Nofsker, Rawson. Those are the drivers that are going to battle it out for the championship. 2 drivers, former champions. Tim Nofsker looking for his first championship, and Brian Rawson making his first appearance in the Final Four. It's been a career year for him. Got his first career win, then followed it up for his second career win, so his first multi-win season, his first playoff appearance, his first appearance in the round of 8, and now his first appearance in the championship 4. And Michael, these 4 drivers have been up inside of the top 10 pretty much the entirety of these playoffs. How in the world do you pick a championship favorite out of them? I guess you don't. But it is going to be a lot of fun to see who is going to emerge victorious. Things kick off next week at Talladega Superspeedway. We could potentially...
Ow.
Oh, you're back.
Sorry, had to go to the little boy's room.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to ask you this question, though, because I do want your opinion on this. So, the 4 drivers that advanced, Schilling, McClure, Nofsker, Rawson, between the 4 of them, you end up having a total of 7 trips to victory lane here this season. You got 2 former champions. You got 1 driver that has made the playoffs before, but he's looking for his first championship. You got a driver that's never made the playoffs, looking for his first championship, his first appearance in the Final Four, and every single one of them, I believe, have finished inside the top 10 in the first 4 playoff races. How in the world do we go through the stats and find ourselves a favorite heading into the championship 4 battle?
We don't. We just use our eyes.
we just observe what happens.
Exactly.
And again, we talk about this all the time. With super speedway racing, close quarter racing, and packed fields full of experience, starting next week, we're going to have 25, 30 X factors out there, moving points up for grabs that the championship 4 are going to want to have. One wrong move and a driver that's battling for the championship starting tonight could be out of the championship hunt next week. If you're any of these championship 4, do you even have a strategy here during this week in preparation for next week, or is it completely play it lap by lap when we get to Talladega?
Lap by lap.
Well, for sure, we are going to be keeping our eyes glued on those championship 4, as they've got a total of 132 laps in front of them to win this championship. 66 laps next week at Talladega, then another 66 laps when we come back here to Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. You are not going to want to miss a single second of it. Who have you got for your championship favorite? Let us know in the comments. Are you on Team Schilling, Team McClure, Tim Nofsker, Team Rawson? Let us know.
I thought you were talking to me. I was like, no. I'm not going to jinx nobody like you did today.
No, I'm not even going to ask you the question because you just said we're going to observe with our eyes. But it's going to be a lot of fun to see. Maybe we'll end up seeing one of those drivers win during the round of 4. But again, wins don't lock you up the championship with the 2 race final rounds. So we'll tell you all about how the final round works when we go to Talladega next week. We thank you all for joining us for our coverage here tonight in the final elimination race of Season 62 of the Talladega Challenge Series under the Rolling Thunder Gaming banner. Again, reminder, join us for our next broadcast on Monday night as we will christen the brand new Primetime Super Speedway for the Primetime Racing League. A green flag will fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then next Thursday night, we're back here with the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series from Talladega Super Speedway, the start of our Championship 4 round. Michael, wild one here tonight. We knew it was going to be close. It definitely was that, not just for the finish, but for the drivers that advanced and the drivers that were just barely eliminated. Wild end here to our round of 8. I appreciate you joining me up here in the booth.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Now it's time to go storm chasing.
Storm chasing. Once again, thanks everybody for joining us here tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage, and we'll see you guys next week. Until then, for Michael Norman, I'm Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.